The morning sky above New Thylos burned red with fire and smoke. Governor Kyung-ho stood on the cracked balcony of the colony administration building, watching enemy ships tear through the clouds like angry metal birds. His blue skin had turned pale with fear, but his forearms remained steady as he gripped the railing. "Governor, we need to move you to the bunker now," Captain Junwoo said, climbing the stairs with his plasma rifle slung across his back. The Thylorian defense captain looked tired. Dark circles surrounded his large black eyes, and his usually perfect uniform was torn and dirty. Kyung-ho shook his head. "Not yet. I need to see how bad this is." Another explosion rocked the city below them. A Vorthak bomber had just destroyed the water treatment plant. Black smoke rose into the air as precious water poured into the streets like blood from a wound. The governor's heart sank. Without water, the colony would die even if they survived the attack. "Sir, the Vorthak commander is demanding we surrender." Communications officer Hana called from inside the building. Her voice cracked with stress as she read from her screen. "He wants all our quantum crystals and he wants us to become slaves." Kyung-ho turned away from the burning city. His people were peaceful miners, not warriors. They had built New Thylos as a place of hope, far from the violence that plagued other worlds. For 50 years, they had dug beautiful crystals from the planet's caves and traded them for food and medicine. They had never hurt anyone. "What does he say will happen if we refuse?" Kyung-ho asked, though he already knew the answer. Hana's fingers shook as she typed. "Complete destruction in 1 solar cycle. 24 hours. Captain Junwoo cursed in the old Thylorian language. "We have maybe 300 people left who can fight. The Vorthak have thousands of soldiers and 20 warships." Lieutenant Sojin ran into the room, her breathing heavy. "Governor, the northern defense grid is down. The automated guns are destroyed. The Vorthak are landing troops at Landing Zone 7. Through the window, they could see the enemy dropships falling like deadly rain. Each ship carried 50 Vorthak warriors. The aliens were twice as tall as Thylorians and covered in natural armor plates. They lived for war and conquest. To them, peaceful species like the Thylorians were nothing more than weak prey. "Have we heard anything from the distress signal?" Kyung-ho asked. Hana looked down at her equipment. 3 days ago, she had sent their cry for help into space, broadcasting on every frequency she could reach. The message was simple: New Thylos colony under attack. Vorthak fleet, need immediate help. Will not survive without aid. Nothing, sir. The signal reached the relay stations, but no one has answered. The governor closed his eyes. He had expected this. New Thylos was far from the main space lanes. The planet had no strategic value except for the crystals. Most other species would think it was too dangerous to help them, especially against the Vorthak. "Then we fight alone," he said quietly. Captain Junwoo stepped forward. "Governor, our mining equipment can be used as weapons, but they are not designed for war. Our workers are brave, but they are not soldiers. What choice do we have?" Kyung-ho spread his forearms wide. "We can die fighting, or we can die as slaves. I choose to fight." Another explosion shook the building. This time it was closer. The enemy was advancing street by street through the colony. Soon they would reach the administration center. "Sir, we should move to the underground shelters," Sojin said. The bunkers were designed to protect against cave-ins. They might hold against bombing. Kyung-ho nodded. "Give the order. All civilians to the shelters. All defense personnel to fighting positions." As they prepared to leave, Hana grabbed the governor's arm. "Sir, should I keep broadcasting the distress signal?" The governor looked at the communication equipment. It was old and would probably be destroyed soon. But maybe, just maybe, someone out there cared enough to help. "Yes, keep broadcasting until the very end." They made their way down into the colony's underground passages. The tunnels had been carved from solid rock when the first colonists arrived. Now they served as the last refuge for 3,000 frightened Thylorians. Engineer Young-soo met them at the main shelter entrance. "Governor, I have good news and bad news. The good news is that the main power core is still working. The bad news is that the shield generators are damaged. I can give you maybe 6 hours of protection, then the shields will fail. Can you fix them?" Young-soo's face was grim. "I would need to go to the surface power station." "The Vorthak control that area now." Captain Junwoo checked his weapon. "How many men would you need?" "Just one person to watch my back while I work." "That is a suicide mission," Sojin said. "Everything we do now is a suicide mission," Junwoo replied. "At least this one might buy us time." Medic Acha was already setting up a hospital in the shelter. She had torn white cloth to make bandages and was preparing her medical tools. "Bring me any wounded," she called. "We will patch them up and send them back to fight." Children cried in their parents' arms. Elder Thalorians prayed to their ancient gods. Young adults who had never seen war tried to comfort each other. The air smelled of fear and desperation. Kyung-ho gathered the fighters around him. There were not many. Most were miners who had never held weapons before yesterday. Their tools had been converted into crude plasma cutters and explosive charges. "My friends," he said, his voice carrying through the tunnel, "we are not warriors. We are builders, diggers, healers, but today we must become something else. Today we must become defenders of our home." A young miner named Dalho raised his hand. "Governor, why should we die for rocks in the ground? Maybe the Vorthak will let some of us live if we give them what they want." An older miner, Bongsik, spat on the ground. "You think the Vorthak keep promises? They take our crystals. Then they take our children as slaves. Then they kill the rest of us. There is no mercy from those monsters." Kyung-ho nodded. "Bongsik speaks truth. The Vorthak do not believe in mercy. They believe only in strength. Today we must show them that even peaceful people can be strong when they fight for their families." Above them, the sounds of battle grew louder. Vorthak soldiers were moving through the colony streets, burning buildings and destroying everything they found. Soon they would discover the shelter entrances. "Hana, are you still broadcasting?" Kyung-ho asked. The communications officer nodded, tears running down her face. "Yes, sir." Same message over and over. "But no one is coming." Captain Junwoo gathered his fighters. "We will set up defensive positions at Tunnel 7 and Tunnel 12. If they break through one, we fall back to the next position." Young-soo picked up his tool bag. "I am going to try to reach the power station. If I can fix the shields, we might last until tomorrow." "I will go with you," Sojin volunteered. As the small group prepared to leave, Kyung-ho pulled Junwoo aside. "Captain, if things go badly, if we cannot hold them back—" "I know, Governor. I will make sure the children do not suffer." The two Thylorians looked at each other with understanding. It was better to die quickly than to live as Vorthak slaves. The thunder of enemy ships filled the air above them. Soon the real battle would begin. 300 defenders against thousands of trained killers. No one expected them to win, but they would fight anyway, because it was the right thing to do. In the communication room, Hana kept broadcasting their message into the empty darkness of space, hoping against hope that someone, somewhere, would hear their cry and come to help. The last free day of New Thylos was ending. Tomorrow would bring either salvation or death. The distress signal traveled through space for 3 days, jumping from relay station to relay station like a message in a bottle thrown into an endless ocean. Most species ignored it. The Vorthak were known to be vicious fighters, and New Thylos was far from anyone's territory. Why risk ships and lives for strangers? The signal finally reached New Sol, a human frontier world on the edge of explored space. The message arrived at the Terran Defense Corps headquarters at 0300 local time, when most of the base was asleep. Communications specialist Yu Jin was pulling the night shift in the signal analysis room. She was tired and drinking her 4th cup of coffee when the computer alerted her to an incoming distress call. At first, she thought it was another merchant ship with engine trouble. Then she read the message. "Oh no," she whispered, and immediately called her supervisor. Within 10 minutes, the message was on Admiral Minho's desk. The admiral was a tall man with gray hair and scars on his hands from his days as a fighter pilot. He had been commanding human forces on the frontier for 15 years. He had seen many distress calls, but something about this one made his stomach tighten. Yujin enhanced the signal. "I want to hear their voices." The young woman's fingers flew across her keyboard. Soon the desperate voice of Communications Officer Hana filled the room. Even translated into human language, the fear and hope in her voice was clear. "New Thylos colony under attack. Vorthak fleet. 3,000 civilians. Need immediate help. Will not survive without aid. Please, anyone who can hear this, we have children here. Please help us." Admiral Minho closed his eyes. He remembered the Thylorians. 20 years ago, during the Proxima crisis, Thylorian medical ships had saved thousands of human colonists from a plague. The blue-skinned aliens had risked their own lives to help strangers, asking for nothing in return. Captain Dong-hyun entered the room, still putting on his uniform jacket. "Admiral, I came as soon as I heard." "What is the situation?" Minho played the message again. When it finished, Dong-hyun shook his head. "Sir, New Thylos is outside our territory. Earth Command has standing orders not to interfere in conflicts beyond the border. If we send ships there, it could be seen as an act of war. The Thylorians are not our enemies, Minho said. No, but the Vorthak are nobody's friends either. They have a large fleet. Any rescue mission would be extremely dangerous. Dongyun pulled up a star chart on the wall screen. Look at this, sir. New Thylos is here, deep in unclaimed space. It would take our fastest ships 3 days to reach them through normal hyperspace routes. Admiral Minho studied the map. He had been in the military long enough to understand political reality. Earth Command would never approve a rescue mission this far from human space. Too risky, too expensive, too likely to start a larger war. But he also remembered holding Thylorian children in his arms during the Proxima evacuation. He remembered how their doctors had worked for days without sleep to save human lives. What ships do we have available? He asked. Donghyun frowned. Sir, surely you are not considering... Answer the question, Captain. Well, the experimental stealth dreadnought Baiko just finished its trials. Captain Taemin and his crew are the best we have. But sir, it is only one ship. Minho walked to the window and looked out at the shipyard. The Baiko sat in its dock like a sleeping giant. It was the most advanced warship humanity had ever built, loaded with experimental weapons and stealth technology. But it was designed for reconnaissance, not fleet battles. What about ground forces? Colonel Yoonji's Marine Battalion is here for training exercises. They are our best assault troops. The Admiral made his decision. Get me a secure line to Earth Command. For the next hour, Minho argued with politicians and generals on Earth. They told him the mission was too dangerous, too expensive, too likely to cause diplomatic problems. They reminded him that humans had their own colonies to protect. When the call ended, Captain Donghyun looked at his commander's face. They said no, did not they? Minho nodded. Complete refusal. Direct orders not to interfere. Then that is the end of it. The Admiral was quiet for a long moment. Then he turned to Yujin. How long until the Vorthak deadline? 68 hours, sir. Minho walked to his safe and pulled out his personal authorization codes. Yujin, send a message to Captain Taemin. Tell him to prepare the Baiko for immediate departure. Emergency supply loading. Donghyun's eyes went wide. Sir, you cannot. Earth Command gave direct orders. Earth Command gave orders to the Terran Defense Corps. They did not give orders to me personally. Admiral, this could end your career. You could face court-martial. Minho smiled grimly. Captain, I am 62 years old. I have served humanity for 40 years. If I end my career saving innocent people from slavery and death, I can live with that. Within an hour, the base was buzzing with activity. Captain Taemin received his orders with a simple nod. He was a young officer, but he had earned his command through skill and courage. His crew trusted him completely. How many Vorthak ships are we expecting? Taemin asked. Intelligence estimates 15 to 20 warships plus support craft, Minho replied. The Baiko will be outnumbered, but she has advantages they do not know about. Colonel Yoonji arrived at the briefing room with her senior officers. She was a small woman who looked like she could be broken in half, but her Marines would follow her into hell if she asked. Colonel, how many troops can you take? Minho asked. 200 Marines plus support staff. We will be ready to drop in 6 hours. The Thylorians are a peaceful species. They do not know how to fight a real war. You will need to train their people quickly. Yoonji nodded. We have combat engineers and medics. We can turn miners into fighters if we have to. As the preparations continued, Yujin monitored the distress signal from New Thylos. The transmissions were getting weaker. The Thylorian communication equipment was being damaged by the attack. Admiral, she called, I am receiving updates from the colony. They are holding out, but barely. The Vorthak have landed ground troops. Minho clenched his fists. Every hour they delayed meant more innocent people would die. How long until the Baiko is ready? Captain Taemin says 4 more hours, sir. 4 hours. Minho hoped the Thylorians could last that long. In the hangar bay, Marines loaded weapons and medical supplies onto the ship. Combat engineer Jin-A checked her demolition equipment, while weapons officer Subin ran final tests on the ship's experimental quantum torpedoes. Fighter pilot Wu Jin was loading his squadron into the Baiko's launch bays. 6 fighters against a Vorthak fleet, he muttered to his wingman. Either we are very brave or very stupid. Probably both, his wingman replied. Captain Taemin stood on the bridge, watching his crew prepare for departure. Communications officer Hyunwoo was plotting hyperspace routes while logistics coordinator Ji-won, calculated supply requirements. "Captain, we have a problem," Hyunwoo called. "The safe hyperspace routes to New Thylos will take 72 hours. We will arrive 4 hours after the Vorthak deadline." Taemin studied the navigation charts. "What about the unstable routes?" "The Kepler passage could get us there in 50 hours, but it is extremely dangerous. Ships have been lost there. How dangerous?" 30% chance of catastrophic failure." Taemin looked around at his crew. These were the best humans had to offer, volunteers who knew they might not come home. "We take the Kepler passage." Admiral Minho came aboard for the final briefing. "Captain, I want to be clear about something. This mission is not authorized by Earth Command. You are not required to follow my orders. Any officer who wants to leave can do so now with no punishment." Nobody moved. "Very well. The Thylorians saved human lives 20 years ago. Today we return the favor." Minho shook hands with Taemin. "Bring them home, Captain." The Baiko lifted off from New Seoul as the first stars appeared in the evening sky. In the navigation room, Hyunwoo plotted their course through the dangerous Kepler passage. In the Marine quarters, Colonel Yoonji briefed her troops on Vorthak fighting tactics. And in space, the ship that represented humanity's best hope accelerated toward an uncertain battle, racing against time to answer a cry for help from across the stars. Behind them, Admiral Minho watched until the ship's lights disappeared into the darkness. Then he went to his office and wrote his resignation letter, knowing that saving 3,000 innocent lives was worth ending his career. The rescue mission had begun. The countdown had reached 12 hours. In the underground shelters of New Thylos, Governor Kyung-ho sat at a broken table trying to write what he knew would be his people's final message to the galaxy. His hand shook as he pressed the stylus to the electronic pad. "To whoever finds this record," he began, "we are the Thylorians of New Thylos colony. We lived here in peace for 50 years. We hurt no one. We helped those who asked for aid. The Vorthak came to take our crystals and make us slaves. We chose to fight instead of surrender. We are not warriors, but we died as free people." Above him, the sound of plasma fire echoed through the tunnels. Captain Junwoo's defenders were fighting street by street, tunnel by tunnel. They had lost Tunnel 7 an hour ago. Now the enemy was pushing toward Tunnel 12. "Governor!" Lieutenant Sojin called, running down the stairs with blood on her uniform. "Junwoo needs you at the command post. The situation is bad." Kyung-ho followed her through the crowded shelter. Families huddled together in the dim light. Children cried softly while their parents tried to comfort them. Elder Thylorians sang old songs to keep spirits up. Medic Acha moved between the wounded, doing what she could with limited supplies. The command post was a small room carved from solid rock. Captain Junwoo stood over a tactical display, moving pieces that represented his shrinking force. His face was grim. "Report, Captain. We have lost 60% of our fighters. The Vorthak are using flame weapons in the tunnels. Our people cannot fight in those conditions." Junwoo pointed to the map. "They have broken through here and here. We can hold Tunnel 12 for maybe 2 more hours, then we fall back to the main shelter. And after that? After that, we make our last stand." Engineer Young-soo had not returned from his mission to repair the shields. They had lost contact with him 6 hours ago. The power generators were still running, but without the shields, Vorthak bombers could attack the shelter directly. "Sir," Communications Officer Hana called from her equipment. "I am still broadcasting, but the transmitter is damaged. Signal strength is down to 30%. Kyung-ho looked at the communication setup. It was held together with spare parts and determination.
"How long can you keep it working?"
"Maybe 4 more hours. Then it will fail completely. 4 hours. Just enough time for the Vorthak deadline to arrive." A messenger ran into the command post. "Captain, the Vorthak are demanding to speak with the governor. They have set up a communication relay at the main entrance." Junwoo shook his head. "It is a trick. They want to locate your position." "Maybe," Kyung-ho said. "But maybe they want to negotiate." The Vorthak do not negotiate. They demand. Despite the captain's warnings, Kyung-ho decided to answer the call. The enemy commander's face appeared on their screen. Vorthak looked like reptiles crossed with insects. This one had scars across his face and eyes like black stones. "I am Commander Vextar of the Vorthak fleet. You are the leader of these dirt diggers? I am Governor Kyung-ho of New Thylos colony. Your deadline expires in 11 hours. My warriors are tired of digging you out of your holes. Surrender now and I will allow half your people to live as workers. Refuse and I will use gas weapons to kill everyone in those tunnels." Kyung-ho felt his blood freeze. Gas weapons would kill everyone in the shelter, including the children. What do you want? All quantum crystals in your storage facilities. All mining equipment. All weapons. Your people become property of the Vorthak Empire. And if we agree to this, half live, half die. The strong work. The weak feed our animals. The transmission ended. Kyung-ho stared at the blank screen, knowing that Vextar would keep his word. The Vorthak always kept their word when it came to cruelty. Governor, Junwoo said quietly, some of the families are asking if we should surrender. They think their children might survive. And what do you think? I think Vorthak promises are worth nothing. They will kill us all anyway, just slower. In the medical section, HFY was running out of supplies. She had torn up her own clothes to make bandages. The wounded kept coming, carried down from the fighting above. Some were burned by Vorthak flame weapons. Others had been hit by plasma fire. Doctor, a young fighter named Min Jun, called. My brother Dalho is asking for you. HFY found Dalho lying on a makeshift bed. He was the young miner who had questioned why they should fight. Now half his face was burned and he was dying. Doctor, he whispered, I was wrong before. I understand now why we fight. Do not talk. Save your strength. No, I need to say this. We fight because if we do not, the Vorthak will do this to other colonies. Other children. We fight so the galaxy knows that some things are worth dying for. Dalho died holding HFY's hand. She closed his eyes and moved to the next patient. At Tunnel 12, the defenders were running out of ammunition. They had converted mining equipment into weapons, but the tools were not designed for sustained combat. Plasma cutters overheated. Explosive charges ran out. Soon they would be fighting with hand tools against professional soldiers. Fall back, Junwoo ordered. Destroy the tunnel supports as you retreat. The Thylorians activated mining charges to collapse the tunnel behind them. Rock and metal fell like thunder, sealing off that route. But there were other tunnels, and the Vorthak were patient hunters. In the communication room, Hana continued to broadcast their distress signal into space. Her equipment was failing piece by piece. First the main transmitter, then the backup systems. Soon she would have only the emergency beacon. Anyone who can hear this, she spoke into the microphone. This is New Thylos Colony. We are under attack by Vorthak forces. 3,000 civilians, including children, are trapped underground. We need help. Please, if anyone is listening, we are running out of time. Static filled the speakers. No one answered. As the night wore on, the situation grew more desperate. The Vorthak had brought in heavy equipment to dig through the collapsed tunnels. They were also using thermal scanners to map the underground complex. Young fighter Sung Min brought news from the surface. Governor, I made it to an observation post. The Vorthak have landed more troops. I count at least 2,000 soldiers now. 2,000 trained killers against fewer than 100 wounded defenders. What about their ships? Still in orbit. 20 warships that I could see. Kyung-ho nodded. Even if they somehow drove off the ground forces, the orbital bombardment would finish them. In the children's section, teachers tried to keep the youngest ones calm. They told stories and sang songs. Some children asked when their parents would come back from the fighting. The teachers did not know what to say. As dawn approached, Hana detected something strange on her instruments. Governor, I am getting readings from the edge of the system. Something big moving very fast. Vorthak reinforcements? I do not know. The energy signatures are different, not like anything in our databases. Captain Junwoo checked his tactical display. Could be a merchant ship jumping to hyperspace. Sometimes they pass through this system. But the readings were growing stronger. Multiple large objects moving at incredible speed toward the inner system. Governor, Hana said, her voice filled with sudden hope. These ships are transmitting on military frequencies. But not Vorthak frequencies. Who then? I do not know. The computer cannot identify the signal type. Above them, Vorthak Commander Vextar was also watching the approaching ships. His tactical officer reported contacts at the edge of the system. Identification? Unknown, sir. The ships are using stealth technology. We can barely detect them, Vextar smiled. Probably pirates hoping to steal our prize. Deploy the fleet to intercept. Kill any ship that refuses to leave. He was not worried. His 20 warships could handle any pirate force. This was just an inconvenience before the final assault on the colony. In the shelter, Governor Kyung-ho gathered his remaining fighters. Maybe 100 people who could still hold weapons. They looked tired and scared but determined. My friends, he said, we have fought well. We have shown the galaxy that peaceful people can be brave when they must be. Whatever happens now, we die with honor. Above them, strange ships dropped out of hyperspace like falling stars. Ships unlike anything the Vorthak had ever seen. Ships that moved with deadly purpose toward the dying colony. The longest night of New Thylos was about to end, but whether it would end in death or salvation remained to be seen. In the communication room, Hana sent one final message into space. This is New Thylos colony. If anyone can hear this, we fought as long as we could. Remember us. Then the transmitter finally died, and they waited in silence for whatever would come next. The Beko emerged from hyperspace like a ghost made real. Captain Taman stood on the bridge watching the tactical display fill with red dots. 20 Vorthak warships orbited the planet like vultures around a dying animal. Status report, he ordered. All systems green, weapons officer Subin called. Stealth field is active. They cannot see us yet. Communications, any word from the colony? Yenwu shook his head. Nothing, sir. Their transmitter went dark 2 hours ago. Taemin studied the enemy formation. The Vorthak ships were older designs, but they outnumbered the Biko 20-1. In a normal battle, those odds would be impossible. But this was not going to be a normal battle. Colonel Yunji, are your Marines ready? The colonel's voice came through the comm system from the Marine Bay. Ready to drop, Captain. Just get us close enough. Fighter squadron status. Pilot Wu Jin checked his instruments. 6 fighters loaded and ready. We are outnumbered, but we have speed advantage. Taemin opened a communication channel to the Vorthak fleet. He had studied their language during the trip. Now he spoke in perfect Vorthak, his voice cold as space itself. Vorthak fleet, this is Captain Taemin of the human warship Beko. You have one chance to withdraw from this system. Take it. The response came quickly. Commander Vexistar's face appeared on the screen, showing surprise and then amusement. Humans? Here? You are very far from your territory, little mammals. This is Vorthak business. Leave now or join these dirt diggers in death. We decline your generous offer. Vextar laughed, a sound like breaking glass. 1 ship against my fleet? You must be insane. I have 20 warships and 5,000 warriors, I know. It hardly seems fair. Fair to who? Taemin smiled. Fair to you. He cut the transmission and turned to his crew. All hands, this is the captain. We are about to engage a superior enemy force to rescue innocent civilians. Today we show the galaxy what humans do when peaceful people cry for help. Battle stations. Alarms rang throughout the ship. The Beko's stealth systems had been designed by humanity's best engineers. To Vorthak sensors, the human ship simply did not exist until it wanted to be seen. Target the command ship, Taemin ordered. Full spread of quantum torpedoes. Subin's fingers danced across her controls. Torpedoes locked, firing. The Beko's experimental weapons were unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Quantum torpedoes could phase through normal shields and detonate inside enemy hulls. The Vorthak flagship erupted in blue fire as its reactor core went critical. First kill confirmed, Subin reported. 19 targets remaining. Now the Vorthak could see them. The human ship appeared on their screens like a demon materializing from nothing. Return fire came immediately, but the Beko was already moving. Its advanced engines pushing it faster than should have been possible. Launch fighters, Taemin commanded. 6 human fighters burst from the Beko's launch bays like angry hornets. Wu Jin led his squadron in a diving attack on the nearest Vorthak cruiser. His plasma cannons tore through enemy armor while his wingmen targeted the ship's weapon systems. This is Fighter 1, Wu Jin called. Their shields are weaker than expected. We can hurt them. On the surface of the planet, the Vorthak ground forces were in chaos. They could see the battle in space, but had no idea who was attacking their fleet. Commander Vexistar was supposed to be invincible. How could 1 ship challenge 20? In the underground shelter, the Thylorians felt the vibrations through the rock. Governor Kyung-ho looked up at the ceiling. What is happening up there? Captain Junwoo checked his instruments. Energy readings are off the scale. Some kind of space battle. The ships Hana detected? Must be, but who would fight the Vorthak for us? They had their answer when the first human drop pods began falling like meteors through the planet's atmosphere. Each pod contained 4 Marines in powered armor, carrying weapons that could level buildings. Colonel Yunji's pod hit the ground near the colony's main entrance. She kicked open the door and stepped out, her armor's sensors scanning for enemies. 50 Vorthak soldiers were dug in around the administration building. Marines, you have targets. Take them down. The human assault was devastating. Marine rifles fired projectiles that could punch through Vorthak armor. Grenades cleared enemy positions in seconds. Combat engineer Genie set charges that brought down an entire building on top of a Vorthak command post. The aliens had never faced humans in combat before. They were used to fighting species that relied on energy weapons and shields. Human kinetic weapons and explosive charges were primitive by galactic standards, but terrifyingly effective. What are these creatures? A Vorthak soldier screamed before a human sniper put a bullet through his head. In space, the battle was turning into a slaughter. The Baeko's stealth systems allowed it to strike and vanish before the Vorthak could respond effectively. Subin had destroyed 5 more ships with quantum torpedoes while Wu Jin's fighters picked apart the enemy's smaller vessels. "Captain," Hyun Woo called, "I am detecting more ships dropping out of hyperspace. Human reinforcements." 3 more human warships appeared at the edge of the system. Admiral Minho had decided to follow his conscience all the way. If he was going to face court-martial for saving lives, he might as well do it properly. "This is Admiral Minho to all Vorthak ships. Surrender immediately or be destroyed." Commander Vexitar, now commanding from a damaged cruiser, was furious. "Impossible. How did humans get here so fast? Our intelligence said their closest fleet was weeks away." His tactical officer was panicking. "Sir, we have lost 8 ships. The enemy weapons are cutting through our shields like they do not exist. All ships focus fire on the lead human vessel. Kill it and the others will run." But the Vorthak had made a fatal mistake. They assumed humans would fight like other species, using long-range weapons and careful tactics. Instead, the Baeko accelerated directly at the enemy formation, its armor absorbing hits while its weapons fired continuously. "Ramming speed," Taemin ordered calmly. "Sir?" Subin looked confused. "You heard me. Ramming speed." The Baeko smashed through a Vorthak destroyer like a missile through paper. The enemy ship broke apart, its pieces spinning into space. The human ship emerged from the wreckage, damaged but still fighting. On the planet, Colonel Yoonji's Marines had broken the Vorthak siege. Human soldiers moved through the colony like a cleansing fire, destroying enemy positions and rescuing trapped civilians. "Medical teams forward," Yoonji commanded. "Find the survivors." Marine medic Hyunwoo followed the colonel into the underground tunnels. They found the shelter entrance blocked by rubble. "Engineering, we need this cleared now." Janae set shaped charges to blast through the debris. When the dust settled, they could see into the Thylorian shelter. Hundreds of blue faces looked back at them in amazement. Governor Kyung-ho stepped forward, not quite believing what he was seeing. You are humans?" "Yes, sir." "Colonel Yoonji, Terran Marine Corps. We received your distress signal. But you are so far from your territory. Why did you come?" Yoonji removed her helmet, showing a young woman's face marked by determination. "Because you called for help. In space, the Vorthak fleet was collapsing. Half their ships were destroyed or disabled. The survivors were trying to retreat, but human fighters pursued them relentlessly. Commander Vexitar made one last attempt to salvage victory. All remaining ships target the planet's surface. If we cannot have the crystals, no one can." But as his ships moved into bombardment position, they found their way blocked by the Baeko. The human ship positioned itself between the Vorthak and the planet, its weapons trained on any ship that tried to approach. "You want to hurt innocent people?" Taemin broadcast. "You go through us first." It was an impossible gesture. One damaged ship against the remaining Vorthak fleet. But Admiral Minho's reinforcements arrived at that moment, their weapons adding to the Baeko's defiance. The last Vorthak ships fled into hyperspace, leaving behind their dead and their dreams of conquest. On the planet's surface, Thylorian civilians emerged from their shelter to find human Marines standing guard. Children who had been crying in fear now stared in wonder at their rescuers. "Are we safe?" young Dalsu asked his mother. Before she could answer, Colonel Yoonji knelt down to the child's level. "Yes, little one. You are safe now. The bad people are gone. Are you angels?" Yoonji smiled. "No, we are just humans. But we came as fast as we could." In the shelter's communication room, Hana managed to repair her equipment enough to send one more transmission into space. This time her message was different. "This is New Thylos Colony. We are safe. The humans came. They saved us all. Let the galaxy know that when innocent people cry for help, humans answer the call." The battle was over. 3,000 lives had been saved, and across the galaxy, Other species would soon learn that humanity had a new reputation. They were the ones who came when no one else would, the ones who heard every cry for help. 3 days after the battle, New Thylos looked like a different world. Human supply ships had arrived with food, medicine, and construction equipment. The burned buildings were being rebuilt, and the streets that had run with blood now buzzed with activity. Governor Kyung-ho stood in his rebuilt office, watching human and Thylorian workers repair the colony together. It still seemed impossible that help had come from so far away, but the evidence was everywhere he looked. "Governor," Captain Taman said, entering the room with a data pad, "the damage assessment is complete. We can have your colony fully operational within 2 weeks." "Captain, I still do not understand why you came. New Thylos has no strategic value. We are far from human space. Your government did not even authorize this mission." Taman set down the pad and looked out the window. A human marine was teaching Thylorian children how to play a human game with a ball. "Do you remember the Proxima crisis 20 years ago?" "Of course. The plague that killed thousands of humans. Thylorian medical ships saved my sister's life during that crisis. She was 8 years old, dying in a refugee camp. Your doctors worked for 3 days without sleep to find a cure." Taman turned back to the governor. "She is married now with children of her own. When Admiral Minho asked for volunteers, I was the first to raise my hand." Kyung-ho felt his throat tighten with emotion. "One child's life led to saving 3,000 people? That is how humans think. Every life matters. Every debt is remembered." In the medical center, Thylorian Dr. Acha worked alongside human medic Yun-woo to treat the wounded. The human had brought advanced medical equipment that could heal injuries in hours instead of weeks. "Your technology is amazing," Acha said, watching a bone regenerator repair a child's broken arm. "Your people's courage is more amazing," Hun-woo replied. "You held out against impossible odds with mining equipment as weapons. That takes a special kind of strength. We had no choice. Everyone has a choice. You chose to fight instead of surrender. You chose to protect your children instead of saving yourselves. That is why we came." Outside the medical center, Colonel Yoonji supervised the construction of a new defense station. Her Marines worked alongside Thylorian miners to build walls and weapon emplacements. "Colonel," Combat Engineer Jin-ae called, "the Thylorians are asking if we are going to stay permanently." Yoonji looked around at the peaceful colonists. They were farmers and miners, not soldiers. Without protection, they would be helpless if other raiders came. "Tell them we are staying as long as they need us." In the communication center, Hana had rebuilt her equipment with human help. Now her transmissions could reach across the galaxy. She was sending a very different message than 3 days ago. "This is New Thylos Colony to all ships in this sector. We are safe and operational. Human forces are providing security. Any ship in distress is welcome here for aid and repairs." Already, 3 merchant vessels had stopped for supplies. Word was spreading that New Thylos was under human protection. Pirates and raiders were avoiding the system entirely. Admiral Minho arrived from New Seoul with additional ships and supplies. He found Governor Kyung-ho in the colony's memorial garden, where they had built a monument to those who died defending their home. "Governor, I wanted to apologize for not arriving sooner." Kyung-ho shook his head. "Admiral, you came when others would not. You risked your career and your ships for strangers. What is there to apologize for? 63 of your people died waiting for help that should have come faster. 63 people died fighting for freedom. Because of your actions, 3,000 people lived. Their children will grow up free. That is a good trade." Minho placed a wreath at the memorial. "Earth Command has officially censured me for conducting an unauthorized military operation. They are transferring me to a research position. I am sorry. Do not be. I am 62 years old. I have had my career. These 3 days saving your people, this is the thing I'm most proud of." That evening, the colony held a celebration. Human and Thylorian foods filled tables in the main square. Children from both species played together while adults shared stories and laughter. Communications Officer Yoo-jin sat with Hana, teaching her how to use the new human equipment. "This transmitter can reach Earth directly," Yoo-jin explained. "If you ever need help again, just call." "Will humans always come when we call?" Yoo-jin looked around at the mixed crowd of humans and Thylorians. "Humans have a saying, 'No one fights alone.' If you are our friend, we will always come." Captain Jun-woo approached Captain Taman with a bottle of Thylorian crystal wine. "I wanted to thank you for saving my people. You saved yourselves. We just helped with the heavy lifting. Your Marines fought like demons. I have never seen anything like it. Taman smiled. Humans are peaceful by nature, just like Thylorians. But when someone threatens innocent people, we become something else. What do you become? Dangerous. Fighter pilot Wu Jin was surrounded by young Thylorians who wanted to hear about the space battle. How did you defeat so many ships? One child asked. Teamwork, Wu Jin replied. And we had better weapons. But mostly we knew we were fighting for something important. What was important? You, all of you. Every person in this colony was worth fighting for. As the night wore on, Governor Kyung-ho made a formal announcement. Friends human and Thylorian, today we establish a new tradition. Every year on this date we will celebrate Liberation Day. We will remember those who died defending our home, and we will honor those who came from the stars to save us. The crowd cheered. Human Marines and Thylorian miners raised their glasses together. Later, Kyung-ho walked with Admiral Min-ho to the edge of the colony. In the distance, they could see the construction lights of the new human defense station. Admiral, what happens now? Now your colony becomes part of something larger. Humanity is expanding its protection network. Any species that wants our friendship can have it. And the price? No price. Just friendship. Help us when we need help, and we will do the same for you. It seems too good to be true, Min-ho pointed up at the stars. Humanity learned something important when we first went to space. The galaxy is a big, dangerous place. The only way to survive is to help each other. Other species do not think this way. Then we will teach them. In the weeks that followed, news of the rescue spread across the galaxy. Other species began to reconsider their opinions of humans. The strange mammals from the third planet were becoming known as the ones who kept their promises. 3 months later, when Zephyrian pirates attacked the Aldorian trade station, human ships arrived within hours. 6 months after that, human medical ships helped fight a plague on Korthak Prime. Each time, the humans asked for nothing in return except friendship. Captain Tae-min received a new assignment, commanding the first ship in the Human Protection Fleet. His mission was simple: patrol the frontier and respond to distress calls from any species that needed help. On his desk, he kept a small crystal from New Thylos, carved with the names of everyone who had died defending the colony. It reminded him why humans went to the stars, not to conquer but to protect. The galaxy was slowly learning that when peaceful people cried for help, humans would answer. Every time, without fail, without question, and in the depths of space, on worlds threatened by raiders and tyrants, that knowledge brought hope. Communications Officer Hana continued to broadcast from New Thylos, but now her message was different. She had become the unofficial voice of the Human Protection Network, relaying distress calls and coordinating rescue operations. This is New Thylos Station to all ships, she would say at the beginning of each broadcast. Remember that no one fights alone. Help is always coming. And across the galaxy, on 1,000 worlds in 1,000,000 hearts, that simple promise took root and grew. Humans had found their place among the stars, not as conquerors or rulers, but as the ones who came when others could not. The ones who heard every cry for help. The ones who always answered the call.